Hey, Nika.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
How does my audio sound?
Sounds fine. Yeah,
Per-
been a super busy day, and so I'm trying to get my brain into interview mode because I've been going like a million miles an hour today.
I kind of feel the same. I'm trying to we're doing an AMA on Reddit tomorrow and our PR or no, marketing, solid state marketing. They gave me all of these instructions that I have to do and I'm just like I haven't done an AMA with Reddit in a very long time and I'm like I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do.
I don't even know what that is. Will you explain that to me? I know what Reddit is, but I don't know what AMA on there means.
AMA just stands for Ask Me Anything. And so we basically
Oh,
we log into Reddit. We are attached to the metal r/metalcore subreddit, and then basically anyone can ask us whatever we want, and then we spend like an hour. Our bass player TJ and I will spend an hour or so just answering as many questions as we possibly can. It's a fun little thing to do. People sometimes are weary of it because like you don't want to. Reddit's kind of like the cesspool of toxicity, and so it,
mm,
it most of there's a lot of people that will ask you questions that you don't want to answer. So if you're like a comedian or celebrity that's had any sort of like bad press in the past, you
right.
don't want to be doing those types of things. But for us, we're just like whatever. So
Is it all typing or is it video?
it's all typing.
Oh, okay. So I mean, you can just be like, oh, missed that question.
Yeah, you can totally just not regard and just pretend like you didn't see it or didn't have time to answer it. So there
Right.
is a lot of variables to that, but it is a fun time. We did it back in like 2015, and it was really hectic because you get like 30 or 40 comments all at once, and you're like trying to type all this stuff out, and I don't know, it was just insane.
Yeah. So are you anticipating? I'm assuming that it's probably going to be even more hectic this time since you guys have had. Well, let's see. You said 2015, so yeah, 8 more years. Which in 2015, you guys would have only been what 2 years into it, right?
Um, kind of. I mean, yeah, I guess because like 2013 was when Saloon came out, and so 2015 was when Handmade came out, and we were new to the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a long time ago.
Gonna be crazy. It'll be fun though, I'm sure.
I love your fish tank.
Thank you.
I have one right. Is my camera showing it?
Oh yeah, is it? I can kind of see it.
It's back there.
Fun.
So it's
Yes.
about the same size, a 50-gallon, I think.
Mine's 10. It looks bigger in the.
What? Oh, it looks like a 50-gallon. Holy cow. Okay. I see
You're
now.
seeing the majority of it right there.
Okay. It's the way the camera is positioned. I gotcha. No,
Yeah.
what kind of fish do you have in there?
I just have glowfish.
Glowfish. Is it a
Yeah, they're they
saltwater?
no, nope, it's freshwater. They put from what I understand, I am far from an expert when it comes to this marine biology lifestyle. But I think they put like jellyfish dye in them to make them colorful and glow. I have six of them. I know you can't really probably see the colors very well. That the one that's swimming around a whole bunch, he's
Yeah.
pink. His name's Pork Chop.
Okay.
And then there's I think let's see, that's a blue one, a purple one. Yeah, you can't see, but they're all different colors and
I
they're
saw the
pretty.
purple one. Yeah.
Did you?
So is it goldfish bred with or somewhere dyed, or is that what it is? Because it looks like
Um,
fish to
some
me.
of the two little ones are tetras, and the bigger ones I can't remember what they're called.
Oh,
I just barely started getting into them again about a month ago. I read this book last year called Blue Mind that was talking about the science being in, on, or around water and how it's really good for your mental health. And one of the things was fish tanks. And we had had one, years before that, but it's, can be high maintenance. And we have a cat. So I was
yeah.
worried that the cat was going to get into it, but he's left it alone so far.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's funny. My wife's really into a lot of that a lot of that stuff being grounded and like, not wearing shoes kind of thing, like those
Yes.
types of things, and so that's
Mhm.
actually interesting hearing about the water being an important thing for mental health. um that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and where you guys are located, because I'm in Idaho too. I don't know if you knew going into this.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay.
I'm in Boise, or right outside of Boise.
Okay.
But I have been to Rathdrum before, and it's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful part of Idaho, and you have lots of mountains and trees, and I would assume rivers and creeks around there. So I'm assuming you probably have water right outside your back door.
We do. Yeah. I actually live in Coeur d'Alene now.
Oh, then you definitely have water.
Yes. Yeah. So we're right smack dab in the middle of Hayden Lake and Coeur d'Alene Lake.
Oh.
So we're very lucky to have this little cabin that we were able to rent out. And yeah, we are just 1 mile away from basically, or 1 mile away from one lake and 3 miles away from another lake. It's crazy.
Oh, it's such a beautiful area.
Yeah.
I need to make it to northern Idaho more. I mean, it's pretty here, but we're more getting into the desert area of Idaho where you guys are in the really, really pretty part.
Yeah. And we are, well, because like, boy, it's so funny because like Boise and Idaho are so, they're almost like separate worlds. Like
Mm-hmm.
people always go, oh well, you're the ongoing concept. So like, you're from Idaho, like you play Boise, and it's like, no, I actually don't. I've only been there like 4 times in my life, kind of thing. Like it's
Right,
just,
you're probably in Washington more often.
well, we've only played shows in Washington. Really, we don't.
Yeah.
The Coeur d'Alene city in itself is very uppity up. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
famous people live here or have summer homes here. There's a lot of just rich people that live here, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a very touristy town, and
Mm-hmm.
so they don't really enjoy a crowd like metalcore coming through and having a venue like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we get pushed out of the city to do our shows in Spokane, Washington most of the time. So that's kind of where we grew up doing all of our shows was uh, in Spokane. And so
Right.
we've only played I think 2 shows here, and they were house shows. Very, very,
Wow.
very like rowdy house shows back in like 2011 and 12. So
Wow.
yeah.
So I mean, it's not that big of a drive, but you guys always have to drive then
Yeah, I mean it's
shows.
about a 40-minute drive. It's
Oh,
not.
that's not too bad. I was thinking it was a lot further than that.
No, I mean, since like how Idaho, the Panhandle, like that
Mhm.
stretch of land is so short, it only takes you like 40 minutes to go from Montana all the way to Washington.
That's true.
So, or
That's
maybe
true.
like an hour. So yeah, so we're smack dab. So it's only about from my house right now, I can get to the Washington state line in about 15 minutes.
That's awesome. And then Spokane's just a little bit
Like
further
15,
south of there, right?
like 15 miles west of that. So yeah,
Okay,
30
west.
to
Okay.
40 minutes. Yeah, not too
Yeah.
far.
Nice. Have you guys considered, or are you able to? Obviously, I know that the music industry doesn't make this super viable or easy, but on doing like a tour.
Like all like a US tour.
Hmm.
Um, we have we we used to do that, but it hasn't really come up in discussion because it's at this point in our lives where we're a little bit too old and have too many obligations to make that realistic.
Hmm.
Uh, I just if there was like a band and they'd have to be pretty freaking big and we'd have to be getting some pretty good guarantees to make that even a possible idea because
Yeah.
it's not worth us potentially losing our jobs because that's the thing, we all have jobs like and it blows my mind that people are able to think that that's realistic because I can't just take 6 weeks off of of my main job, and neither can my other brothers, and my brother Kyle has 2 kids now, and so
Yeah.
it's like, how do bands do it? And I think you either sacrifice your family life and your job to do that type of style.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think at that point you're really sacrificing, are you so into yourself at this point that you care about the fame more than maybe
Mm-hmm.
hearts and love of your family and your friends and your job? Or is there a way to find a happy medium where you can uh still play shows, but do it in a way that isn't affecting the people around you that love you and care about you and
Right.
need you, and that's
Right.
I sometimes see these people having a baby and then going on like a 2-month tour, and I'm like, who's taking care of your kid? Like,
Right.
I mean, I understand, like, yes, the band is important, but like, to me, I think that social media has ruined that concept, because now people wake up every morning constantly thinking that if they aren't staying relevant, then they're nothing. And
Right.
that's horrible. Like, that's a horrible way to wake up in the morning. And I feel like you are sacrificing the the growth of your infant child at that
Right.
point, and the relationship with your marriage or your baby mama or whoever, or,
Right.
or baby daddy, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much
Right.
stuff going on. uh
Yeah.
and I speak of this too because I do work for a company full time. My main job is I work for a mental health company
Hmm.
called
I'm a mental health counselor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Our company is called Integrated Interventions, and we focus on one-on-one mentoring for young adults over the age of 18 that have come out of adolescent care, and a lot of them are, people that are on the spectrum, people that have, maybe schizophrenia, maybe
Hmm.
they're battling with anorexia or obesity, or like this type of stuff, where they have struggled with setbacks in their life, their whole life. And our job is to focus on bringing them into the community, because when they turn 18, a lot of times they've been in programs their whole life,
Hmm.
and when they turn 18, their parents are like, you're an adult now, you got to figure this
Right.
shit out. And so then they're freaking out because they're like,
Right.
I don't know how to get a job, I don't even know how to, like, some of them come from very wealthy families. This is a one-on-one mentoring program. This is not a, you know state ran thing. It's private pay.
Hmm.
So it's not exactly cheap to have your students in this program. So a lot of them do come from a little bit of wealth, I guess you could say. And a lot of them have never known how to do their own laundry before because they've had
Right.
someone else do it for them. And they do have setbacks themselves. So learning may be a little bit of a difficulty. And our job has been to one-on-one, hand over hand, teach them, those skills. And we have a lot of our students are 24/7 care,
Yeah.
overnight, making sure that they're having, they're not having a really rough night, like. And that's the thing too, is we, with how society is now, there's so much depression, there's so much
Hmm.
anxiety, there's so many people that are struggling to find their own identity. And it doesn't help that the pharmaceutical companies are pumping these people in with medication. And so
Hmm.
we are often dealing with people coming and detoxing off of some crazy pharmaceuticals. And
Right.
I mean, I could go down this rabbit hole for literally an hour.
It's
But the
well, it sounds like you're doing some really important work, and that's at the end of the day, like you said, what's really really important, family and being able to help others, help other humans.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. I was a mentor for 2 years. I did day shifts, and I was working with some really cool people. And then I went to graveyards for about another year, and then now I'm going on year. I just did year 4, so this will be my 5th year coming up in a year. The past year and a half, though, I'm not a mentor. I am strictly the marketing multimedia person for the company.
Oh.
And that fits perfectly with me because I have been doing music videos and recording music and doing all of this stuff for so many years that
Right.
that's kind of why it transitioned to that, because they really needed a way to just showcase the company. And so because of a lot of that too, like, we've progressed, and now we actually have a branch in Texas, and
Oh,
we're potentially moving to Florida here soon. And
wow, those
it's
are big states that really could use it.
oh yeah. Well, it's crazy because Coeur d'Alene, you said you're a counselor. You might, I mean, Coeur d'Alene itself has so many of these programs. And
Mm,
I think it's because we're kind of isolated. And so a
mhm,
lot of higher up people, I guess you could say, will send their kids here because it's isolated. They don't have to deal with maybe press getting involved with them. And
mhm,
so we do deal with some higher profile
mhm,
young adults, I guess,
mhm.
that you would never know of. It's their parents that are the high profile people, I guess.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of programs here, and we have a lot of programs in Montana. There's just a lot of stuff
Mhm.
happening in Idaho and Montana. And I think that's because there's maybe a little bit less regulation here in Idaho than there is in Washington or Oregon or something like that. So yeah, so Texas is a great, like, I mean, there's like we're thriving in Texas too, and
Mm.
Florida's kind of the same way. So it's a fun time. And I guess I'm very passionate, so I end up going down a rabbit hole. But it's the fact that you are also a counselor is very cool, so I'm sure you can definitely sympathize and empathize a little bit more than other.
It's so important. It's so important. I wish they would start teaching at the schools. And I know, I mean, they could only these poor teachers can only do so much. They're already doing so much. But I wish that they would start teaching like emotional regulation and different coping skills for um I watch your fish back there is like, is that your one of the sucker fish?
Oh, that's the Plecostomus. Yeah,
Yeah, but I
comes
always
out,
forget how to say that word. Yes.
he comes
So
out very early, so you gotta.
I, he popped up to say hello, and my eyes started going over to where he is. But yeah, like coping skills and emotional regulation, those type of things that I think would be super beneficial, like learning meditation, learning deep breathing, learning to go out in nature barefoot. Those types of things. Just
Yeah,
using nature as a whole. Those things I think could be super helpful for kiddos.
and yeah, and like going this is all circling back to the first point you made was when you're asking me if we want to tour long, and that is because through being in this working for this company and seeing how it is, I have kind of firsthand heard and learned and seen the repercussions of
Not being
abandoning
there.
abandoning your kids at a very young age and the repercussions of that. And
Hmm.
that's because we work with high profile people. So you can kind of connect the dots on the
Hmm.
fact that we are seeing what happens when maybe a famous musician doesn't see the first 7 years of their kid's development life and what
Right.
happens from that. So
Right.
I don't think we're really going to tour long term unless it's a very, very big tour and is very much at the right time of our lives where we're not going to be creating a negative atmosphere for the ones back home.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so wonderful. And really, I mean, in the music world, even outside of those extremely important factors, it's not super, feasible like it used to be either.
It's not
Uh,
not
mhm,
making you a lot of money, and gas is
mhm,
expensive. So I mean, my goal and my hope and like this my dream would be that we can play a couple like smaller, maybe like a few smaller things a year, but kind
mhm,
of surround them around festivals and
mhm,
make that kind of our thing, because I love playing in front of people, but I also am able to create content. That's the other thing too, is that we are living so close together. All of our band lives within 20 miles of each other, and so we have the capability of creating like more content, more music
mhm.
videos, or whatever it needs to be to keep people excited. Which a lot of bands don't have that
Very true. Luxury.
that luxury. Yeah, a lot of them are spread out throughout the country. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a very, very, very long-winded question that you asked me.
No, it's good though. I like how I don't know how your other interviews have gone, but I very much like to just have conversations. I think it's nice to get to know the musicians and obviously learn things along the way as well. But I just feel like it's more natural and more enjoyable. I would hope to watch versus the really choppy questions, answers, and the awkwardness.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I'm very much a talker myself, obviously, as you can tell. And so yeah, there has been a couple choppy ones, but I know how to kind of morph into the right person for that. But I could tell off the bat that it was a different situation here. So it's always nice, and I love chatting about anything but my band sometimes. And I still we can still chat about the band, but you know what I mean. So uh there's so many tangents and wormholes that I'll go down, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is about the ongoing concept. My bad.
Right, right. Well, I think I don't know. I think it can be whatever you need it to be. And maybe that's just the counselor in me, but also I think people when you're doing a lot of interviews, people can go to a lot of different areas to get the information that they're wanting to get. And when you watch interview after interview after interview and you're seeing the same questions being answered and the same things being asked, it's like, why would I keep watching the same interview over and over and over? And I feel bad for the musicians that are being interviewed, because I thought, man, they've already answered that 5 times, probably in a day. And so I'm always okay with going off into other topics, because I feel like that gives the musician at least a breather to talk about something else instead of the same just thing over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think to an extent, people really still like talking about themselves, but yeah, you can definitely start getting tired of your elevator speech. That's what I
Hmm.
call it, you know,
Yeah,
of saying the same thing over and over. And then at the same time too, I find myself saying different things for the same thing in the sense that
just to mix it up.
it's that I actually don't really know what the answer is
Mm.
correct. Like for example, people ask me like what the lyrics are for maybe one of our newer songs. And honestly, I don't really know. I kind of know, but I also didn't really write the lyrics. So then I like say what I think it is, and then after I'm like reflecting and I'm like, I don't think that's actually what it was at all. And then I have another one where they ask the same question, so my whole answer is totally different because now I reflected on the previous one. And I'm like, if anyone were to put these side by side, they would be like, Dawson's just bullshitting everybody. No one, you know what I mean? So I,
You're like, it's definitely about this. And I feel it deeply and strongly when I sing it, even though I didn't write the lyrics. And then the next time, well, it's actually really about this. And I feel
yeah,
it so strong.
yeah, yeah.
So do you, I was trying to be able to pinpoint, but you and your brothers sometimes are hard to tell the difference between. Do you just do strictly cleans?
No, I mean when the guys left, back in 2015, I ended up taking over like the front man completely. So I had to end up doing all of the screaming and singing
Oh, wow.
along with, so Kyle wasn't there anymore.
Mhm.
So I still do screaming and stuff. Like there's a few songs on this record that um there's one in particular that I did all the vocals for. It's Melody Again, and
Oh, okay.
that's me screaming. Kyle was just MIA at the time because he's so busy with family life, so I just end up doing. So I do screams when I need to, but it's something that like I try to put off to Kyle if it works out. But yeah, we definitely look alike a lot, and a lot of
Yeah.
people think we're twins, and we also have a very kind of similar timbre in our vocals. So
Mhm.
a lot of people might not know when I'm screaming and when Kyle would be screaming, but Kyle does have a very harsh, crazy,
Mhm.
crazy man vibe when he screams that's a little bit different than mine. So yeah, I can understand the confusion for sure.
Well, I was every time was watching a video, I was like, okay, well, he's definitely doing cleans. And then I was like, okay, I think that's his brother doing the harsh vocals. But then there were times that I'm like, but I feel like that's him again. So are they both doing harsh vocals? Or and then you have three vocalists, which um
Technically
you're
four.
you have four.
Yeah, because Andy, our guitar player, is also doing screams too.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So we're almost
So
like One Direction at this point. That's what I keep saying.
One Direction with harsh vocals and some
Yeah.
funk and blues and jazz and like everything mixed in between. Your guys' music is super cool. I felt like I like had whiplash listening to it, because every few seconds it changed, which I love. I prefer music like that. It keeps me interested. It keeps me excited to see where the next turn's going to be. And so I feel like there's so many gaps that you guys are bridging with your music between different genres. So how did you find? find, I mean, I know you have obviously brothers that you grew up, I'm assuming, playing music with, but how did you find other musicians, especially in such a small area, that wanted to, and how did you guys all decide to do the same style of music when it doesn't really have a specific style, you know?
Um, we were really into Dream Theater back in the day.
Well, there
That
you
was
go.
like our favorite band uh for a long time. And that was kind of where we got the whole idea of like creating concepts because if I mean I was looking at the bands that you've interviewed in the past. I kind of get the vibe that you could understand a progressive band like that. Am I right? Do you
Yeah, definitely.
um so I loved how they would connect their albums together. I liked how each album just had its very distinct, like in your face theme to the point where like what was that one album? Octavarium was all about the number 8, and I believe it was their 8th record. So like the number 8 was just all throughout that record, and it was so cool. And so that like inspired us a lot to be like, you can create kind of a another adventure with your album along just the music and the lyrics. You can create a concept too.
Mhm.
And so that's where that all kind of started from. But we were into Dream Theater for a long time, and then my cousin ended up showing us August Burns Red one day,
Mhm.
and we were like 14 or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the most insane thing, because before that we were writing songs that were like 15, 16, 17 minute long, like songs
Yeah.
for the Dream Theater.
Hmm.
And so after listening to August Burns Red, I was like, I love that they're able to just be so crazy, but only make it like a 3-minute song. And so then that was kind of like where we started to bridge the gap, where we kept a lot of the craziness of Dream Theater in the sense that it was like they do have like 6 different genres in each song that they think it's crazy, and but at the same time, we wanted to be able to provide that in a 3-minute song and package it in a way that wasn't so like gimmicky. Like I don't want to add stuff into something just to be the gimmick for the day or for the year, flavor of the month, I guess you could say. I don't want to be like that. I want it to still have a timeless feel. I want people to still listen to our stuff 20 years from now and not go, oh man, this brings back memories. I remember the time with this band did this. It's like, no, no, no. I want you to go, I like this song still, even though it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
So that's a really hard thing to do. And who
Yeah.
knows if we've achieved that. I guess we'll see when 20 years has come by. But we are 10 years into Saloon. It will be 10 years this year. And people still seem to dig that record. So maybe we did a few things right. Maybe we could have done a few things different. I don't know. But it was a time in our lives where we were very young, and that was the cool thing too with like how we wanted to do this new record was we still wanted to provide everyone with that classic TOC style where we are doing things a little bit different and providing you with kind of an unexpected journey, but not but do it in a way that was like still 30-year-old me instead of 22-year-old or 21-year-old me. So um there was just there was a lot of going back to our older records and going, what were we doing at this time? What were we really invested in? Like, how were our songs coming together? I was diving into a bunch of like old, sessions because I record all of our albums. I was going back to the old sessions with all of our, my old computer that is like a dinosaur. Back in, seeing what we were doing, soloing the drum tracks, soloing the guitar tracks, and just kind of figuring out like what was actually going on in our heads at that time in 2012 when we recorded that album. And from that I was able to kind of find I would say like a happy medium, healthy way of combining that thrashy crazy original way of writing to what we are now, which is a much more mature, a little bit less crazy, a little bit more sit back and enjoy things and not be so much in your face, but still be in your face. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
it took a while. Like we definitely spent almost 2 years writing to get everything done, and that was because we would only write like once a week. We'd come over and hang out once a week. And
Yeah.
when bands want to do an album professionally, when they're like a professional band, always on the road and shit. They will just sit down in the studio for a full month or maybe even 2 months and just hammer it out. And
Right.
we were spreading that out over the course of 2 years. Yeah.
Right. Which was nice, kind of gave you the space to be able to really think about how you wanted to um recreate. And I'm assuming that's where the album title and the song titles came from. Again, is kind of going back to those old roots, but also um meshing them with where you're at now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's multiple reasons why it was called Again. That is a big one. I was going back and I started realizing that there's like some cool harmonies or sorry, cool melodies that were going on in some of our songs as I was trying to also write our new songs. And I ended up using some of the lyrics from our older songs to try to write the melodies for the new songs. Not really like almost by mistake, but also almost because I was like, what if we did that
Mhm.
kind of thing? And I started realizing I was like, this is cool. We could bring back some stuff from the past because we're all back again already and we're writing again. And like, so the word again came up in conversation so often that I was like, this idea is perfect for what we're doing. We're going back to the albums that we grew up writing together and love writing together. And now we're writing a new one together. Why not bring some of that back into this and see what happens? And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, it's a really cool album. It is. It's so different and it's so diverse. And um, like I said, I heard so many different musical influences and elements throughout it that I felt like it was, as soon as I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be more jazzy, then it would drop into, yeah, more of a metalcore um, type of sound. And it was, yeah, it's a wild ride, but it's done very well. It flows really well. You don't feel like it's it doesn't like flow, it still flows really well, even though you got so many different musical elements. So do you guys listen to a lot of different styles of music? I
Um,
mean, Dream Theater and August Burns Red are, I mean, they're still under the metal umbrella, but they're definitely different styles.
I tell everyone this, it's always so narcissistic when I say it. I don't really listen to music actually that much. Like I do, but I listen to music about as much as I go out to a fancy restaurant, which is never.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like I don't listen to music in the car. I don't listen to
What do
it.
you do for your mental health?
I have I have a worm farm. Like
Oh, fun. I got worms.
I have a worm farm. And my wife and I are like really into gardening, and we just love, like, right now I think I've got to be up to like 20, 30,000 worms now.
Oh my
I
gosh.
started at like 1,000, and I've just been breeding them and then putting them in a big we built like, well, my brother, he's like so good at DIY stuff. He built me a full on um continuous flow bin. So what it is, it's like this 8 foot long, um like 3 foot deep, 4 foot deep, big worm thing, and it has a PVC pipe underneath. And you have like, so then what ends up happening is all the worms eat all your compost and eat all of your bedding and everything. And then after about 6 months, they've created enough castings, because castings is where the fertilizer is. It's like the most.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm giving you a little lesson.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know about worms.
This is why I love worms, and this is what people probably don't know about worms, is that worm shit, like legitimate worm shit, is the best fertilizer you can possibly put on anything, better than any sort of chemically made thing. So it's called, like, they call it black gold because it looks like dirt, but it's actually poop that worms have, digested. And it comes from like basically anything that could be food scraps or cardboard or paper or um anything really. They will eat almost anything. And so, composting is really good, but composting is very hot. If you take a pick and pull over a bunch of compost, you'll see steam coming up from it because it's so
Oh,
hot internally.
mhm.
And putting that into your garden will actually burn your plants. They will a lot of
Oh.
times die because it's not a cool fertilizer. And so
Uh-huh.
then a lot of like places like Walmart or whatever will give you, or Home Depot will give you like fertilizer that's not supposed to do that. Well, that if you look at the ingredients on that stuff, it's pretty hard on just everything. It's hard on your soil, it's hard on everything. So worm castings are where like the real fertilizer comes from. And so, yeah, my goal for the past like 2 years has been to build enough castings that we then fertilize our gardens with the worm castings. And from the results that I've seen from other people, your produce and your vegetables and everything turn out like 5 times better than they would if you were to like do it with like store-bought fertilizer. So that's a quick
Wow.
little synopsis, but it's really fun because you really can't go wrong. Like if all my worms died today, I'd be out like a couple $100. Like it's
Right.
but it's a slow grow, and it's if you don't like putting your hands in a bunch of worms, well, it's probably not for you. But it's funny. I'm deathly afraid of snakes, and
Same.
so you would think that those would correlate. Like I'd be scared of them,
No,
but they're not the same. And
they're not. No, not even close. No, I
and
can
it
go fishing just fine by touching worms, but a snake comes near me and I am crying and running in the other
Oh yeah,
direction.
100%. And the thing is with the worms, they're not the worms that you probably think of. The ones that you get at the store that you use for fishing, the big long
Mm-hmm.
guys, those are called Canadian night crawlers, and those actually aren't composting worms. Those are just worms
Oh,
that sift through the soil and kind of eat stuff, but they don't actually provide that like worm casting like.
uh-huh.
Now the ones that I'm getting, they're called red wigglers, and they're really small. They're only about this big. If that is
Oh,
good. They're pretty
crazy.
small, but they eat half their body weight a day in food. And so those are what are the composting worms. So I don't really have the Canadian night crawlers. I don't have these big long guys rolling around. No, they're very small, and there's thousands of them.
Where do you get them from?
You can get them online, but they're native to the United States. So if you dig for them, you can find them, but a lot of times people aren't looking for them because they're looking for the biggest worm they can find, and so they'll
Mhm.
always find the Canadian nightcrawler. And the Canadian nightcrawler is actually invasive. It's an invasive species to the United States. It's not from here. So I think it's from Europe actually. So we
The,
find
the Canadian nightcrawler in the United States, originally from Europe. Like, that's a mess.
well, it's weird because there's European night crawlers, and those are composting worms. And actually, I do have a bin of those
Weird.
as well. But and then there's African night crawlers that are also composting, but they all have their different types of things. Like some of them can't be in environments that are below like 50 degrees. So here in Idaho, we would never be able to have like an African night crawler because it would die
Mhm.
if we were trying to do our thing. So yep, that's what I do.
That's so
God.
crazy.
But
Wow.
but yeah, I don't really listen to music like a lot. I love music, but I find myself enjoying it when I'm creating it. And
Yeah.
but there are bands that I really do enjoy, and they're not metalcore at all. I really enjoy. There's a band called Corey Wong. Corey Wong. He's a guitar player, but very funky and groovy, lots of jazzy kind of stuff. I love
Mm.
that. There's another band that like my favorite band basically of all time is called Dirty Loops, which is this crazy band from overseas, and it's a three-piece, and it's like the most insane music, like super crazy.
I interviewed someone. It might have been Stavik from 12 Foot Ninja that brought them up. But there's someone else that I interviewed that talked about that band, and I wrote it down, and then I didn't get around to checking it out. So I definitely will check them out because that's the second time they've been mentioned now. Um,
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
they are so good. Um, and I don't know. I don't really listen to the music that we play, but I love writing the music that we play. And
Mhm.
if you Don Broco, actually, Don Broco is a band that I really love. They are the closest thing to what we try to be. Um, but yeah, I don't really listen to a lot of heavy music. And
Do you feel like it turns into work when you try to listen to music? Do you feel
yeah,
like it's yeah. That makes
100%,
sense.
because well, I'm a producer, so I'm constantly listening to the mix of the song, and so I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
that snare drum sounds like crap, those guitars sound like crap, and then I'm to not even focus on the music, and then
Hmm.
it bums me out a little bit. 'Cause
Hmm.
I should just enjoy it for what it is. And I did have a we went and mixed our album with Josh Schrader. I don't know if you know who that is, but he uh he did like the new Lorna Shore record,
Mm,
and
okay.
they're popping off right now. And so
Hmm.
he's been around for a long time, but he's very, very good at what he does. And he did a great job with our record. But I went and flew out and hung out with him, and he's kind of the same way. He's like, I used to be someone that never listened to music, kind of hated it. Um, but now I've figured out a way to just enjoy it, regardless of how crappy it might sound, and appreciate it for what it is. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to do that and not listen to how something is sounding, opposed to like
Yeah.
how something is I don't even know how music is actually just supposed to be heard.
Like how it's created versus how it's produced and recorded.
I guess so, or just hearing it from what someone that knows nothing about like recording would approach a song or approach
Right.
music. And so I've been trying to kind of find myself in that position, but I don't know. I find myself even liking like country music a little bit too, like,
Hmm.
which is weird. I don't know. I don't know. It's an odd thing. Sometimes I really get into a couple songs for a day or two, but then I'll go 6 months without ever listening to a single song.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I totally get it with it becoming work. What about growing up? I'm assuming you had a pretty highly musical household. What
Oh
did
yeah.
your parents listen to and growing up, and what were your guys's introductions, I guess, growing up with your parents?
We grew up a lot with like Christian stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
my parents come from a Christian household,
Hmm.
or I come from a Christian household, I guess you could say. So a lot.
My parents do. I know.
Well, especially my mom came from a very Christian background. But yeah, we were listening to a lot of like Stephen Curtis Chapman, Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant. Um,
That's like more like contemporary, right?
Yeah, it's contemporary. Yeah, I guess you could say. And then we grew up a lot with that stuff. But of
Okay.
course, my mom was in the country too, so we did grow up listening to a lot of Garth Brooks and
Hmm.
Shania Twain and all those good, classic
90s
'90s
country.
things. Yeah. But my dad was a little more, because my dad's a drummer and my mom's a piano player, but my dad
Oh.
was much more into rock and roll, and so he my mom didn't really want him showing us songs of more secular bands. So we were kind of he he would show us the Christian rock and roll bands when my mom was around. And then when we would go to the store in his truck, we would then listen to things like Boston and other bands that were not Christian, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
'cause that's what he really liked. So we grew up with the classic rock, and then we got really into Van Halen when we were young too. And I think I really got my inspiration of playing guitar from Van Halen. I just loved, and I still love Van Halen for his his way of just, in a way, he was kind of DIY. Like, he was constantly just pushing the boundaries of what his good guitar could do, because there's no one that was doing it at the time, and so he was destroying his amps by blasting them so loud. And it's just, he was just a very innovative person, and I loved that at an early age. And so I was like, took that to heart. And then yeah, Bruce Hornsby was another big influence in our, because my mom's a piano player,
Hmm.
and she got us into piano lessons very young. I was
Hmm.
all three of us took piano lessons for several, like Kyle took them for a very long time. I took them for like 6 years, from like the age of like 5 till I was like 12 or something. And Bruce Hornsby was a huge influence, because it's like he's great. His piano playing
Hmm.
is awesome, and stuff. So yeah, we listened to stuff like that a lot, but because we were there's so much music running through our family, it felt like, maybe that's why I don't listen to music a lot, is because I've been surrounded by it so much that we were always just playing it. Like, we
Hmm.
weren't listening to it because we were constantly playing drums, playing guitar, playing piano. And I think that's why we have been drawn to writing our own music, opposed to,
Yeah.
like, I don't know a single cover song at all. And
Oh, wow.
I never was the star of any get together in high school or middle school because everyone would know that I'm very good at guitar or piano or something. But whenever anyone was like, Dawson, play something, I would play something that I wrote because I didn't know.
They're like, we can't, we
Yeah, and
can't sing to that.
of course, there was always another guy at the party that knew Jack Johnson, and all of a sudden he's the star, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So yeah,
Oh my gosh,
I
that's
really
funny.
I really never I never really got into covering other people's music. We did do a cover on one of our EPs of Jordan Sparks' Battlefield. That's like I think the only cover we've ever done. And I don't know. I've just never been one into covering people's music because I like doing my own thing. And I think that
Mhm.
kind of stems into why we don't listen to music is because we've just been writing it. We've been creating our own stuff for so many years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of cool though. I mean, that's cool that that's where like the inspiration comes within versus without, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing
Or
wrong. There's nothing wrong with people covering and doing all their stuff. It's just hard for me to do. And even when I try to do it, I always feel like it's a challenge. It's like really hard. It's really hard for me
Mhm.
to learn how someone else plays a song. Their own. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, and especially when it comes to not even just vocals, but the musical aspects as well, you know, guitar playing that it's kind of a vocal of its own. There's some guitar players you can tell who it is just by their guitar playing sound, you know. So to try to recreate that, it's not always, or to try to create it to your own style, but yet still sound like what they're doing. You know, I can't imagine would be easy.
Yeah, it's tough, and I kind of like the magic of that. Like
Hmm.
I don't really feel like tramping on someone else's work, and nah, that's not true. I'm okay with playing other people's music just because I know that other people probably try to cover our stuff. It's a very weird way of way of approaching it. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't cover music. That's it.
Yeah, you just like creating your own stuff. So are you guys all pretty proficient in music theory then, since you grew up playing?
Um, I am like I'm a mix. Parker, drummer, no, not at all.
Does he
Kyle,
play to a click?
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And like he understands like what a triplet is or this and that. But no, I mean, when we were taking piano lessons, we definitely did a lot of theory, but theory is very much like learning Spanish
Yeah.
high school. I took 2 years of Spanish and I don't know how to say a single sentence. I don't even know how to count to 10. And I took it for 2 years. So theory is very much like that. But so
Uh,
if you want to apply yourself and learn theory for what it is, you can definitely learn at that time of your life. And we were young, 8, 9, 10,
mhm.
11, 12. Kyle, my younger brother, but by only like 20 months. He's pretty close. He's close in age to me. He is very much like he's never had a B in his life. He's been 4.0 straight A's his entire life. He doesn't know what the concept of like not passing a test is.
Mhm.
So that's just how he approaches things. And
Mhm.
he's very, very good at theory because when he started learning it, he was like, I'm
All
gonna
in.
be a master at this.
Mhm.
And he's like very smart with math. He was trying to get his degree to be a math teacher, like a calculus teacher, but he had 2 kids now, so I think that's kind of not happening, but he's very smart. And so yeah, Kyle is amazing at theory. I know a little thing or two, and Parker not so much. And as far as TJ goes, not either, not much. Our guitar player Andy is actually pretty good at theory. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have a balance. We have people that just kind of
Interesting.
that are good at theory, and that's the thing is that when it comes to our songs, oftentimes I will demo a bunch of stuff out, and then I'll have Kyle or Andy come over, and oftentimes they can tell me and go, like you could add a harmony because it's in the key of
Mhm.
D major. You could add this harmony and it would actually theoretically work. And I'm like, okay, I guess I could try it. So then they'll add those little like more mathematical parts to our songs. And then sometimes they'll be like, Dawson, this riff that you're doing is technically not in the right like key. It might sound okay, but theoretically it's not correct. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, thank you for catching that because I did not know that.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
good like structural way of writing, I think. So
Yeah, it helps to have, well, it helps to, I would think, have people from all different levels of it, because then that there's the theoretical way of doing things, but then there's also the outside creativity that they can, yeah, you can
definitely,
mix
and
it to make it work.
it makes everyone feel like they're, contributing to the songwriting because we don't write songs like a lot of other no, I wouldn't say a lot of other bands. A lot of bands do it just like us, but there are bands that will just get all their instruments together and sit in a room and practice and play and jam and then write songs that way. We haven't really ever done it that way. We write into the recording program, uh,
Mm-hmm.
demo, through Pro Tools or whatever, and then learn our songs live after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we're literally doing like right now, which has been a challenge learning some of these new songs off the new record. So
Yeah.
that's just how it's always been for us.
Do you have a show coming up then? Is that what you're practicing for, or just practice
Yeah.
just to, yeah.
Yeah, we have 3 shows coming up here in like I think two 2 weeks. April 7th, we're playing the Big Dipper in Spokane, and then we're playing Portland April 8th, and then we're actually playing Boise April 9th at the
Oh,
Shredder.
nice. Oh, that's my son's birthday. Oh, at the Shredder.
Yeah, yeah. We played there in November, and that was fun. The Shredder's a cool place. They always seem to treat us nice.
That's good.
But I often find that they don't promote
Advertise.
they don't advertise at all. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a chore to kind of tell people that it's even happening. You didn't
Yeah.
even know, so that means that someone in Boise doesn't know about it, which kind of worries me a little bit in the sense that I need to do some more promotion on that end. But
Well, to be fair, I am going a million miles an hour all the time, and my attention span is horrific anymore. I swear the older I get, the more my attention span deteriorates. But yeah, that is something that yeah, the Shredder isn't as great with the marketing as like the Knitting Factory or, some of the bigger venues. Um,
yeah,
but they're a they're an awesome venue. They bring in a lot of acts.
they do. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what makes it make sense in the sense that I understand why the marketing might not be like 100% because they are bringing a lot of people in, and it's exhausting if you're trying to do promo and marketing for a band that's you got 7 bands a week or something like that, and you're trying to run the venue. I totally get it. So
Mm.
but yeah, that's what we're doing in April, and then we have a small run in June/July to get us out to audio feed with Lightworker and Bloodlines. That'll be pretty fun.
Nice. So, I mean, you guys have had really successful YouTube views on the new songs and a lot of really positive feedback. Do you bring in a pretty good crowd? Do you get to play to a decent sized crowd so that way you can feed off the energy?
I would say so. I mean, I thought that we would probably be back to square one with our audience numbers when we started coming back because we did our first tour in like 6 years back in November. And I was a little worried about no one really showing up, but yeah, I mean, people do show up, and I think it comes from the fact that we've been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
People really, I think, like us for just maybe the lore of our band. Like we have the brothers and we have a lot of high energy performances that have kind of made a staple of our name in that sense. And so people come out to see us go crazy, especially Kyle. Kyle is just a madhouse on stage. And so yeah, I think that, when we did this last tour, I was pretty stoked that people were like really excited to see us and really happy that we were back. And I think that with this new album, we're just attracting a lot more new fans, which is
Mm-hmm.
great because it's cool to see all these people not know anything about us. And then they get to go do a deep dive of all of our music videos and see kind of conceptually what we've been doing for the past decade and hopefully create a very diehard fan. I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
I would rather slowly grow a diehard fan base than to go from 0 to a billion, overnight. And then in 6 months, that trend is over and that band is now not really doing very well. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it
Definitely.
is this, it takes patience though. It takes a lot of patience. And I, I don't know. We're figuring it out as we go. Every year's different. Every social media platform that becomes popular, like TikTok, always changing the game, and you kind of gotta, you know,
Relearn.
relearn everything. So, but we're definitely having fun.
Do you guys utilize TikTok then?
Yeah, we do. I feel like it's almost essential at this point.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
I hate to say it that way, but and at this point, I'm almost like I don't want to make the same mistake.
Hmm.
I don't want to make the same. Well, we weren't really actually active when TikTok came out, but when I saw TikTok, I'm like, this will never take off, and it did. And so
Hmm.
now my thought is, I want to be like the first band on like the next thing platform.
Hmm.
And so now I'm like really wanting to kind of, have my ears open for that,
What's popping back up?
something that everyone is bashing. Like the thing that people hate the most right now is maybe the thing I should be investing my time into, because that will in 3 years be the thing. Who knows?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people definitely push back on TikTok. I'm still trying to figure it out and learn it as well. It's a little tricky with.
it's weird. And I think I was telling my friend today actually that I think TikTok, how they built TikTok is it's built around making every person a one-hit wonder, in the sense that
Mm,
if you talk to almost everybody that posts, that has been posting for at least, I would say, 4 or 5 months, they will always have the same story, that they posted videos and nothing really happened, and then they posted one video that went viral for
mhm,
about a week, and then
mhm.
nothing. And
Right.
that's how I feel like everything is. Everyone has a viral video that they've done. And so I think they are capitalizing on like the energy and like the serotonin or whatever you're getting from
Right.
going from nothing to like a whole bunch of stuff all at once. And then once the likes and views start to decline, you keep using the app because you think that will happen again. And
Mhm.
then you'll do it again and nothing happens and nothing happens and nothing happens. And then you got to wait a few more months and then it'll finally happen again. It's really odd. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but from all the information I've gathered, that seems like something that would be a great way to entice people to keep coming back.
Oh yeah.
Everyone a one hit wonder, because they will think that they will continue making, you know, hits, but they're
It's
not.
like winning the lottery. It's like you win
Yeah.
the lottery and then you're like, okay, that's actually a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep pumping money into it. Yeah, that's interesting. I would not be surprised. That's really interesting. Social media in itself is just kind of a bizarre thing.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but it's essential. So
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons. I think when you're using it for um marketing or for, good or whatever, then it can be, or for connecting with people that you otherwise, like I have friends that I went to school with that are in Brazil and one that's in Germany, that were foreign exchange students, and I wouldn't be able to still have a contact with them unless we were like writing letters, like back in the day. But yeah, being able to still have that contact is nice. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of toxicity to social media as well.
A lot of it. A lot. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially now, working with the company I work for, you get to see it on a level that's more like Gen Z or even Gen
Hmm.
Alpha, I guess at this stage. Is that the Gen I was looking at the generation thing. It's like, is it Gen Alpha now? That's like,
I have zero idea.
I think Gen Alpha is like 2005 to like 2012 or something.
Okay.
And Gen Z is like 1999 to 2005. It's like a
Okay.
so it's an even newer group of people that are just turning 18.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm like right on the cusp of generation, so it depends on where you look to determine which generation I'm in. So,
Yeah, there's like millennial, but then there's also Gen X. Before the Gen X is in between boomer and millennial, I believe.
yeah, and that's yeah, so in some places that are giving different dates. I'm Gen X, and then in other ones I'm in millennial. So I'm like, I don't know what I am.
Well, and
I'm just here.
I think as a consensus too, like Gen X has been considered the most put together generation. So
I'm gonna say that that's what I am then.
I mean, you
No,
never hear, you only hear millennial, boomer, and Gen Z. That's all you hear about. And Gen X is just smack dab in the middle of boomer and millennial. So the fact that no one ever talks about Gen X in any sort of negative light shows that, yeah, there's something about that generation that there's parts of it that were correct.
or they're all just quiet because they don't want to have the spotlight on them.
I mean, we're just kind of watching the world burn and drinking a beer while watching it burn.
That yeah, that definitely sounds like more my style. I don't know. I think it's important to have things to say when things need to be said as well, but
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
in a productive and respectful and polite way, not in a destructive and toxic way like, a lot of people
Yeah.
seem to want to do. But yeah, so we're a week and a half away from the album coming out. You guys have released 3 singles so far. You have really fun videos. I loved the home videos that you
Oh,
incorporated. I thought that was really neat and really
yeah,
creative.
that was fun.
Um, was that fun going through those and
Yeah, I mean, I've seen those videos a lot of times, but I actually, it was a good, I'm glad I did it because it was an excuse for me to convert everything to digital and then put it onto the cloud so that it will never be gone. Uh,
right?
that was actually my Christmas present to my family. One of the Christmas presents. We did like Secret Santa, because I don't want to. We all just have decided it's not worth, putting
Going
tons
into
to
horrible
every.
debt for.
Yeah, yeah. So we did Secret Santa, and like my whole gift to the whole family, along with the one of the Secret Santa, but it was it was that I gave everyone a QR code that allowed them to go to the Dropbox
Oh,
link that then has all of the footage. And there's a lot of stuff. There's probably
no.
like 30 hours of footage between 1992 and 2008 from all of those VHS and like remember the mini DVs? Like they're like
Oh,
mini,
yes, yes.
like from that camera
Hmm.
era, and stuff. So it was awesome to go through and just digitize everything and then bring it into our video. It was awesome.
What a cool gift. And yeah, and to even expand upon that and add it into your music is just a really cool idea. I thought that was really, really fun. But what a very thoughtful and awesome gift. I'm sure your family loved that.
Yeah, I think they did too. Because we used to watch those back in the day. Well, we still did even up till like a couple years ago. You pull them out, but every time you pull out a VHS tape, you always are like, "This could be the last time we play it," because it could the VCR player could mess up and the tape gets stuck in there. Like you just never know. So
Yeah,
that's just memories gone forever.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Between cassette tapes and VHS, yeah, those were gambles for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, well, congrats on the upcoming release. It's a really cool album. It's just so diverse and so interesting and just a mix of anything and everything, you could want in a song. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it and have really enjoyed listening to it and continuing to go with those twists and turns that every time I listen to it, I anticipate it, but yeah, I still am somewhat surprised by something new, It's really
yeah.
cool.
I'm glad that you like it. That's awesome to hear. And you've heard the whole thing?
Uh-huh.
Okay, awesome. Sometimes people didn't know, like they had it, but they didn't know that the PR team sent it over, and so they were like, they didn't even know like what I was talking about. So that's good that you know that you've
Oh
listened.
yeah. No, I try to I only like I get a million emails a day, but I try to only pick the ones that really, hit well with me because I don't want to be disingenuous, I guess. And so I try to be really choosy with what I pick. Um first of all, because I know I'm going to be listening to it and I want to really enjoy what I'm listening to. And second of all, just being able to have this, fluid conversation with knowing what I'm talking about. I try to
Yeah.
do the research. I had an interview just yesterday with Mike Tramp, who used to be the singer for White Lion, and had to like that's clear back from the 80s, so how to do. And I obviously grew up with White Lion, so it wasn't like a whole lot of research that I had to do. But I usually don't do interviews back to back like that because I want to have the time and space to be able to put into my research. But I had already been listening to your guys' album and already had some, knowledge and information. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do back to back and we're going to wing it and we're going to make it work.
There you go.
And it
No.
worked out just fine. Sorry. My watch is trying to talk to me and listen to me.
No, it's good.
Awesome.
I'm glad that you enjoy it. Yeah, it's definitely been a fun time. So I'm glad that it's been out because we've had these songs basically done for like a year and a half now. So I'm just eager for
Ready.
to hear them at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, ready for it to be out there. Yeah. Well, everybody so far has, seems to be really enjoying it and excited about it. And I'm sure that they're going to enjoy the rest of what they haven't heard yet. I'm really curious to hear, what everybody else says as well. And I'm sure you are that tenfold. But I appreciate you taking the time out for me. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening and hopefully a little bit more sunlight.
Yeah, it's still a little bit left. But I really appreciate you having me. And yeah, it's been a fun conversation, especially everything did not do with the band.
I know I learned about worm farms and now I love to garden too. So now I'm like, that sounds like something I might want to look even more into if that's
Good.
going to help with our produce.
Especially when, you never know where the economy is going to go. Like it's a good thing
Yeah,
maybe to look into building your own little worm farm. It's awesome.
it's actually a really good idea. We want to do a greenhouse eventually. And so it sounds, yeah, that's not even something I would have even thought about. So that really gave me some food for thought that I'm going to go and share with my husband now. And
There you go. I hope positive things come from it.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it will. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dawson. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I hope it's your show is on my son's birthday and he does not love shows, but they're too loud for him and he doesn't like to be around a lot of people, which I get. But maybe I can talk him into.
Well, if you guys, it's totally fine. We actually have another show coming up, and it's gonna be at the Knitting Factory.
Oh, okay, cool.
Uh, in I believe June. So that would
Cool.
probably be more a funner time. So yeah,
Perfect.
just look out. We're not gonna be announcing that until after our April shows, but it
Okay.
will be a cool time. So
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Well, I'll definitely get you one of the times.
okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Oh, my puppy.
Oh yeah, that's right, Reggie.
Oh my
We just
gosh.
got him like 2 months ago.
Oh, so cute. Oh my goodness.
Like an what border border collie doodle, right? Yeah.
Oh, so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, go snuggle the puppy, go snuggle your wife, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Bye bye.